Welcome to the Peter Joe Podcast, where we talk about everything from life and mental health to entertainment and passing current events. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin, my fellow Peters.
Want to light up a child's life in a unique way where tradition and today collide with life lessons, a splash of humor, and a whole lot of love? Long story short, when I recited classic nursery rhymes to my baby boy years ago, I realized that we don't put cradles and babies in a tree. Falling down doesn't mean you're broken beyond repair, and there are happier things to sing about with our kids than a plague, just to mention a few. So not long after Joey was born, Nursery Rhymes for Modern Times was born as well. If you'd love to give kids in your life something that will teach values, develop connection, and bring on the giggles, plus instill a love of reading, then these books are for you. And adults, you'll have a great time recognizing which rhymes and songs they're based on, because if you're familiar with nursery rhymes, you'll know, and you're likely to understand the why behind it as well. Check out my website at cassandralennox.com, where you can order the books on Amazon or reach out for info on custom rhymes and projects.
Welcome back to the Peter Joe Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Joe. Today is going to be a special episode as I am sitting here recording with the mother of my kids, a fantastic mother at that. She is also a supremely talented writer. She's a motivator. And we decided a month ago that we should do an episode together to discuss how our co-parenting life has been. I also want to discuss her writing. I want to pick her brain on that front. So welcome to the show, Cassie.
Thank you, Joe, and hi to all of Joe's Pitas and to everyone listening. Joe, to be honest, when we separated last year, a podcast isn't something that I ever anticipated us doing, but here we are, and I'm pretty excited about it. I know you've been all in on your podcast now, making big leaps recently, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking for even bigger leaps. This is still so fresh and new to me, but starting this podcast has helped me not feel stressed as much. It's served as a crutch for my mental health. And I hope it's helped my fellow Pitas out there who have listened from day one. Also, to follow up on what you said, Cassie, I also never would have thought we'd be doing a podcast together, but either way, here we are, and I'm stoked. So let's do this. Let's share our co-parenting story and share our tips with listeners who are going through the similar type of situation. So for those who are listening to the podcast for the first time or haven't heard the first episode, I'll fill you in. Me and my guest, Cassie, we were married for 10 years. We created 3 amazing children together, who we love equally and dearly. Without going into the details of our marriage, we agreed that in the best interest of our little ones and our mental health that we should separate. Was it an easy decision? No. Was it the right decision? I think we would both agree on that it was. Am I wrong, Cassie? Do you agree it was a good decision?
I agree it was a good decision, Joe.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to turn this into a little dorky comic book analogy, so pardon me here, bear with me. But we decided to become co-parenting superheroes, super dad and super mom, both living in Krypton, not far from each other. And we would fight the good battle of being heroes to our kids instead of villains to each other. So now we fly high, solo at times, but also as a team to protect our 3 little superheroes.
Wow. Okay. Well, going back to what you said right before that, you're definitely not wrong. It was best for the kids' mental health as well, I believe. I know oftentimes parents stay together because they feel that that's what's best for the kids. But in reality, I guess there's situations where you have to weigh the pros and cons, including the projected or anticipated pros and cons down the road, and then determine what's best, and that's what we did. But regarding your little tangent there, if that's what we're doing, I need a cape, preferably a pink sparkly cape.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
So yes, doing what is best to protect our little superheroes. I have a mindset of forward motion and recognizing the value of personal development, and Joe, I'm pretty sure that you get it now. You've been doing some episodes about mental health on here, which is great, and we're trying to just look at this from a growth aspect. So, as you said, not getting into details, but we went through a lot in our marriage, and so our listeners know. For context, it had good times, it had really rough times, it had a lot of laughs, but we just agree we're very different, and there's some stuff that coincides awesomely. But overall, the truth is we just got to try to be the best parents we could be while living our own lives and still being friends. Because that's how we started anyway, right? We were friends for several years.
Yeah, we'll always be friends first. For those who don't know, I met Cassie when I think I was 19 or 20. I want to say 20. So I've known her counting friendship, parenting, and marriage like years, half my life. So I think it's safe to say I know her better than most people. Um, I've talked to lots of people who are going through a split who also have kids, and me and Cassie have received praise on how we are going about the situation and doing a hell of a job. So I want us to share a few tips and tricks, maybe to help our fellow co-parents who are listening. What do you think, Cass?
I don't know about doing a hell of a job, but I'm pretty proud of us for sure. So yeah, tips. That's great. What do you got?
First off, I think a good segue to start here is don't get mad at each other over stupid crap like dropping the kids off 5 minutes late or stuff like that. Like these little things. Like it's not good to fight over that stuff.
Yeah, it's good that you don't get mad over that one, or you'd probably be mad a lot. It takes 20 minutes just to get their shoes on and get them out the door. So we're usually a good 10 minutes late, maybe 15. But yeah, getting mad over little things like that, it just escalates things. It's not worth it.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's a solid tip. Another one, plan ahead, especially for like holidays, or if you need the kids a certain day and you want to switch days. Figure out the scheduling ahead of time. Don't surprise each other with that.
Yeah, not just about special stuff though, like scheduling it all out in the first place. Like that wasn't easy. It's never easy probably, but we had to discuss things over several times and change some of our work shifts around and all that to find a plan that worked for both of us. But I mean, ultimately it did. I think it works pretty well. I mean, it's hard, of course, but it's working. Like we're doing the best we can.
We've both been flexible with it. We're not arguing over it and creating unnecessary hostility or arguments, And that's what you as co-parents need to understand. Like, it's not about you, it's about your kids. It's about their mindset, their well-being. Being unselfish, I'm going to harp back on the family plans, holidays, birthdays, etc. Like I said, you got to work on that together.
Yeah, it ties back right into what we were just saying with those special occasions. Especially those occasions, they need to be shared fairly and at times can overlap maybe in a way that everyone spends some time together just for the kids' sake. I know that can be hard sometimes, but like Joe just said, as parents, it's not about you. You hear so many stories how people say things like, oh, my parents couldn't even be in the same room together when I was growing up. And you hear the tone of their voice, like grown adults, they carry that with them from their childhood and you can feel it when they talk about it. Not saying divorced parents need to be BFFs, but in most cases, you can be civil and work out the plans and just give the kids the best experience possible under the circumstances.
Right, definitely.
So what else tips you got there?
Never throw the other parent under the bus when they aren't around. This is a big one.
Yeah, and the ridiculous phrase as well. Very dramatic. But
yeah,
yes,
it's a kind of violent phrase.
It is. No throwing under buses. Thank you. No insinuating blame or fault or speaking your thoughts out loud if you get frustrated. Yeah. It can be hard at times, especially if you're angry about something or there's some kind of trigger from the past because, I mean, it happens. Granted, we're working through all this pretty well, but we don't have it all figured out. We're not going to pretend that we do. It's become clear that things like holding grudges or having regrets or whatever, it just doesn't help the kids when you hold on to that. It doesn't help either of you either.
Yeah, also, your kids will, like, read into that, you know what I mean? Like, it affects them more than it affects each other, So, yeah, definitely. What else you got?
Oh yeah, just to piggyback off of that, if the other parent does something that, like, upsets or annoys or bothers you, not that we ever do that.
Yeah,
no.
Never. We never pushed each other's buttons.
No
words,
buttons.
no. I don't even know what that means.
You either remind yourself, like, okay, hey, this is one of those reasons it didn't work out, onward, right? Or if it has to do with the kids' well-being, whatnot, you just discuss it.
Don't let it mess up your day more than anything.
Yeah,
or your kids' day. Yeah.
Work it out, move on with your day, move on with your life. It doesn't have to be a total upheaval, even if you let that kind of stuff become an upheaval in the past. You learn from it, you grow from it. So just go do something that makes you happy, or take a look at those precious kiddos that are making a mess of the house you just cleaned, or arguing with each other, all that stuff that you forgot about when you're there missing them while they're at the other parent's house. They do that at your house too, right? It's not just me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're very talented at making messes. I mean, very professional at making messes. Any more tips you want to add, Cass?
Yeah, let's see. I'll say, let it go.
Yeah, our girl would start singing right now, hearing that. Bringing back
Oh,
the Frozen days,
Yes.
the Elsa days.
But yeah, let it go. Like realizing that where you're at in this journey now, a lot of things no longer matter. So just focus on what does. I mean, stuff that was part of the journey is from that chapter, and it's so easy to carry things over from one chapter to the next. But I think the best thing you could do is just realize that even when life changes and things that are different than what you once expected, the best you can do is just let it go and let go of the expectations and just try to embrace what is.
Let it go.
Oh,
Let it go.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Can't hold me back anymore.
It's a good song. It really
Yeah, it is. It's catchy.
So good. Especially like the first 500 times you hear it.
Yeah. It's a beautiful song. Especially when our little girl sings it.
She definitely is. She's so precious. Yeah, we both love these little rascals with every ounce of our being. And these kids, Joe, I mean, even though we were it, they are. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change the past. It got us here. These beautiful, amazing children living the coastal life that I know you have mixed feelings on, but just we're at a stage in our lives that we're both growing and thriving and showing our kiddos that change isn't always necessarily a bad thing. We're pushing ourselves further. It can be terrifying, but it's so worth it. And we don't have to hold grudges or regret the past because life's just too short for that.
Yeah, so in the grand scheme of this whole co-parenting life we lead, to me, the most important thing I try to remember is unselfishness. It's not about holding on to past grudges in our marriage. It's about moving on and forward for our sake, and most importantly, our kids' sake. That's the message I want to stick with you, the listeners, who are trying to figure out their situations. And I really hope this episode helps them and inspires you guys to be better co-parents together. I really mean that. I'm sure Cassie does too. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's very important because it's all about the kids, and not about yourselves. As adults, it's about your kids. They are the most important in this whole thing. So, I want to talk about your books because you're a great author, great writer. So talk about your books.
Well, which ones are you asking about?
All of them.
All of them. Okay.
Whatever one.
Well, since we're talking about the kids, I'll start with what's pretty much nearest and dearest to my heart, which is my Mama Kangaroo Nursery Rhymes for Modern Times book. Just a quick backstory, if you want. I know, Joe, you obviously know this.
Yeah, I know. But I'd like to hear it.
When our little Joey was just a baby, I was rocking him, and I was singing Rockabye Baby to him. And thinking like, wow, I'm singing, trying to calm him about this, putting the baby in his cradle up in a tree and then he falls down from it. Like, this is not calming. This isn't very loving. And so I sat there rocking and I just started singing it differently. I changed the words to Rockabye Baby and Mommy's Embrace and cute little jammies and a smile on your face. When the day's over and stars start to glow, sweet little baby, to dreamland we'll go. And then I was like, oh, I like that. I'm going to write it down. And then after that, I realized there's a lot of nursery rhymes that are talking about things that either don't make sense anymore or are kind of dark and just...
Yeah, they didn't age very well.
Yeah, they're just not... Like, when you sing or recite nursery rhymes to your kids, usually you're trying to calm them or connect with them or make them smile.
Right, it should be soothing.
Yeah.
Not like horror stories.
So yeah. I looked up what a lot of these nursery rhymes actually are based on, and some of it's kind of horrifying. So I sat there and wrote down the ones that I thought I could improve, and I had the first 10. I was like, oh, I should make a book out of these, and then I had 20, and then got it up to close to 25, and then added a couple of my own. So that was a couple of years later. So Mama Kangaroo Nursery Rhymes for Modern Times was published, and right before it actually released, I came up with ideas for some more that I thought should be rewritten. So 1 year and 1 day later, Mama Kangaroo More Nursery Rhymes for Modern Times came out. So there's 50 rhymes in all. I think 42 of them, I want to say, are based on the classics, and the rest are just originals. But the kids in the Mama Kangaroo books are based on my 4 kids, mine and Joe's 3, and then my older daughter as well. So we have big sister, little sister, big brother, and little brother Kangaroo are the main characters. And basically, Mama Kangaroo is a play on Mother Goose, because our son being Joey So the baby kangaroo.
Yeah.
So that's where Mama Kangaroo came from. And yeah, they're just made to teach children that nursery rhymes could be about love and compassion and teach family values and child literacy and just a deep sense of connection that the original nursery rhymes don't have.
Great books, really, honestly. The illustrations are great too. So
Yeah, I was really, really happy with my illustrator. She did such a great job.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Jasmine Mills, she's absolutely wonderful, and she really brought what I envisioned those like kangaroos and everything to be. Like, she brought it to life for me.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any other books you want to talk about?
Well, we could go over the Hayworld books if you want. When I started writing when I was 6, technically. Began actually like writing it down on paper in my little yellow spiral mead notebook when I was 8, and then years later decided that I was going to compile them into a book and publish it called Hey World, I'm Someone Too, The Heart and Soul of a Practical Dreamer. So basically it was a compilation of poetry and quotes and stories that I wrote throughout my teenage years, kind of just going through what a typical teenage girl goes through with school and friendships and loss and heartbreak and just all the things. It was just life. And I remember deciding to publish that book, and I had all the papers written, like printed up in a stack, and I didn't know what order they should go in. And I was just thinking about how crazy the teenage years of life were. So I literally took that stack in my parents' living room and I threw it up in the air, and whatever way they landed as I picked them up, that's the order that the poems and everything are in the book, except for the very first and last. But yeah, I think that really described how it was there.
Would you say those books are good for like mental health and centering yourself in your own little world, motivational, you know? So I know you specialize in motivation.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of it was just straight out from the heart, but a lot of it, I wrote it to help myself, but to help others at the same time. And I think I didn't even know that I was really doing that at the time, because when I first let some of my friends read my writing back as a teenager, I was kind of terrified to put it out into the world, because in my mind, it was just me letting it out. It was my release, like my escape from just the difficult stuff that was going on. And then when my friends said things like, I feel like I wrote this, like you put exactly what I was thinking into words, that's why it kind of hit me like, oh my gosh, you know, this isn't just for me. This could inspire others, like it could help them. And then that's when I started putting more of my writing into the world at different events and schools and parts of different book compilations, book collaborations. And then years later, I was like, okay, well, I've got a lot more writing. Let's do the same thing we did for the first Hey World book. And then Hey World, I'm Unleashed came out, which was like a different stage of my life.
It was like a sequel of your life.
It was literally like, just sat there. Like, I didn't write that book wrote itself.
Yeah.
You know, I took so many different things about different aspects of my life over those 10 or 12 years and just pulled them together. Basically wrote the intro and the end of the book, and then, you know, just be like, this is me. This is what I went through. This is what I feel might be able to help you. And people have said that it has. Like, there's people that's been going through a lot of different kind of things in their life, and they said there's something that just hits them, like it touches them in a way that they're like, oh, she wrote this for me, even if I didn't know them at the time. So it's an amazing feeling, because I was terrified, like I said, to put my stuff out there. Like, it's scary and vulnerable when you put your heart out to the world like that. And the day that I published that book, I'm like, what did I just do?
Yeah, but you probably felt like a weight lifted off of you. You know, that's
how
I felt with the podcast.
Yeah.
Get my stuff out there, talk about things, help people with their struggles, whatever's going on in their life, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's good. It's a great thing.
It is. It definitely is.
I know you wrote you wrote a novel, right? Would be considered a teen novel?
Sterling Secrets was my young adult novel. That was one of the first longer, like that first like actual book that I ever wrote. That one was just based on a reoccurring nightmare that I had, and it happened to take place in like very early 1900s. So I decided, 1902. I had always been fascinated by the old Sterling Hotel back in Wilkes-Barre, in the area where we grew up, and so I named my theater in the novel the Sterling Theater. and used that as the inspiration, and got some old newspapers from Wilkes-Barre from 1902 to base things on, and did a ton of research about the area and just different things with old theaters, and brought that to life, made up the whole thing. So it's totally different. That's why people joke, oh, Cassie of all genres, because it has nothing to do with any of my other writing.
It's a really cool book. It really is. It's kind of eerie too. Like, I like it.
Yeah, it's the whole, my little obsession with historical places and ghosts.
I was wanting to ask you, were you ever inside of the building?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Because it was already closed, I think. You
I know.
couldn't get in.
I my friends broke in, but
They did knock it down, right? Eventually.
Yeah, they did. I have pictures.
Turned into a parking lot like this one.
I wouldn't break in with my friends. I was being a good girl.
Yeah.
Then they tore it down. I was like, darn it.
It was a cool looking building, though.
It was.
Anything else you want to talk about as far as your writing?
Eventually, I'll get back to writing the Now. I was working on that for a while. That's
we were working
again
on
a totally different genre, but it has the same underlying meaning as the rest of my writing. Really.
Yeah, it's just a lot darker.
Yeah, it's that one's a government conspiracy about the impact that one person can make in the world.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say about that for now.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much almost done. I just got to get back.
We're also fiddling with the idea of making it a script too. So
Yeah.
I think you make a really good writing script or movie script or maybe television. But yeah. What about your work as a writing coach?
Yes, I also helped a lot of women, especially in the personal development space, to write children's books and with their own books for their businesses and their growth journey. And just last year, I was certified in NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnosis and timeline therapy. So I've recently started writing custom and recording hypnosis tracks and guided meditation for individuals and businesses, and I plan to expand doing that because it was a way that I always wanted to really help make an impact with my writing, but now learning how to really do that in a way that's going to improve and change people's lives, that's what I'm reaching for. So that's been really fun to start working on that and growing that, and just the ideas are they're really transforming into something. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Well, you're a talented writer, so it makes sense.
Thank you.
Helping people out like that. I got a few questions for you. As far as writing goes, what is your personal favorite of the books you've written so far? You gotta have a favorite, right?
I guess, like I said, I guess I gotta go with the first Mama Kangaroo Nursery Rhymes for Modern Times, just because it's so special, the poetry and that's all about my life too, but that's
just including our kids into an actual illustration as little kangaroos.
Yeah,
really cool.
Even at the beginning when we used to back in Pennsylvania, I did some different festivals and events and spoke at schools and whatnot. So we had little shirts and everything with the kids with their specific character on them, and it was just really neat for them to be a part of that experience as Mommy was first going out and promoting the books and speaking and whatnot. Just having them included was it's a very special thing to me as an author, and I'm never gonna forget that.
Yeah, we need a volume 3. That's what we need.
I know. I have thoughts about different things that I can do with it, and I was just talking about that earlier today, actually. So, yeah, there will be. Good. In due time.
Awesome. As far as routines, I tried to start writing my script, but do you have a routine to get you ready before you sit down and write or work on a writing project? You have a personal routine that you go through, etc. Like how football players have a routine before a big game or something. You have a certain routine you do?
I do not.
That helps you? No?
In even my authors clubs, they've talked about being a planner or pantster, I think, where you just fly by the seat of your pants. To me, it's...
What is it, a pantseer?
A pantster, I think.
Pantster?
Pantster? You fly on the seat of your pants or something like that. But either you plan out your writing time, or if you're like me, it hits you at sometimes the most crazy moments.
Would you say it's like a zone, like a writing zone almost, like a writing high almost? Kinda?
Yeah, it's you just a switch just kind of flips, and then you got to write it down.
Right.
Sometimes on my phone, I'll be like, "Ooh, I have this really good idea out of nowhere," and start on my notepad, or I always carry a little tiny notebook in my purse because you never know when something is gonna come to you, even an idea for a poem or some kind of quote. I've actually pulled over on the side of the road and grabbed my pen and paper and
Well, yeah, 'cause
jotted
you'll
something
forget it
down.
immediately.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten so much.
That's
If
the
I don't
crazy
write
thing
it
about
down,
Yeah.
nope.
Creativity, like, it comes to you in spurts.
Yeah,
Random spurts.
for sure.
So is there a project that you're working on that you're excited to get back into and finish? I know you were talking about the now, right?
There's a lot of projects that I've
Yeah.
started, but I mean, the most predominant ones that have meant the most. That's what I've done and been working on. But there's a lot of things on my what I call a to write list. Like I have
Life
my to
gets
do
in the way
list,
sometimes. Life gets in the way sometimes.
yeah,
That's
but
the problem.
it's about really prioritizing the stuff. So I mean, you have like so much time to do the different things in your life. We all have 24 hours in a day, so it's kind of just how to allocate it. And right now it's been pretty much doing work on the hypnosis, meditation, my Author of Change Instagram page that I started recently, and just kind of putting out some motivational content out there in the world that I could eventually turn into stuff for another book or incorporate parts of that into the different meditation tracks and whatnot.
We'll put that in the notes where they can reach you for your writing work or your books and your social media. We'll put that in the notes for the listeners, so
Awesome.
they can find that in the notes. Okay. In this day and age, I know there's a lot of self-publishing going on with Amazon and all that. Do you like self-publishing better, or do you think aspiring writers should be out there looking for an agent or a publisher? What do you think is the easiest route to start?
What do I think is the easy?
For like the aspiring writers.
None of it's easy.
No, none of it's easy. Yeah.
None of it's easy.
Easiest or best?
Best.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say best. I don't know what's considered easiest because it's.
Yeah, writing's. I mean, it's hard to get published, but yeah.
I mean, I know that in my groups and with a lot of the authors that I've talked to this about, it seems that they're more leaning towards the self-publishing route. There's this common misconception that when you go with a publisher, like a publishing company, that it's quote unquote easier because they do the marketing aspect and all that, but that's not the case. And like most of the time, like they don't do that. Almost all authors that I know of, like you do your own marketing, and that's one of the hardest parts, because if you're a writer and that's like your passion and your gift, the writing is the fun and easy part, but trying to get it out there in the world and get like the connections, the speaking gigs, the getting the books into the bookstores, all the different components, like you're kind of on your own for a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, depending on who you're working with. So I mean,
well,
it's sometimes takes a lot of rejection, a lot of time, a lot of just
editing, I would think too. Right?
I'm saying to get
it out there, yeah.
No, but I'm saying to get someone to represent you, like you need an agent and a publishing like to do all that it's a long hard road. Like you have to really.
And it's a lot more fees, right? And a lot of they take a lot of money out of like your pocket.
Yeah, in a lot of cases they do. The royalties are different depending on who you go with, but I mean, even Amazon, KDP, that's a popular one among a lot of the authors that I know and have worked with have gone that route, and it's a lot more self-explanatory than some of the different methods. But I mean, I think for people that want to get started and do that, that's the route that I would recommend.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So I think we nailed most of our points that we wanted to. We could always do a follow-up podcast too, you know? Talk about, like a month from now. We could field questions in the comments.
Sure.
And get back to you guys and do a little follow-up episode because it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Cassie, for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It was an extra special podcast because we as parents and co-parents want to help you guys out. We want to give tips. We were able to do that today, so hell yeah. Heck yeah. But as always, thank you for listening. Stay positive, stay hopeful, stay positively hopeful. And like I said, I will put where to reach Cassie in the show notes. in the description for the episode. So you could follow her. You could write to her. You could get her for writing gigs or any of that. So you could find her books there too, and we'll post her website and everything. So yeah, awesome. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye. Thank you for listening in, my fellow PETAs. Follow me on Facebook at PETA Joe Podcast, all lowercase, no spaces. Instagram, PETA, Joe, podcast, all lowercase letters. And on Twitter, at PETA Joe Podcast, all capitals. Like and subscribe on all the apps the PETA Joe Podcast is streaming on, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Samsung, TuneIn, Player FM, and last but not least, Podchaser. Thank you.